bright, bright sunshine.
Jamaica is restless, London is listening, and reggae is about to step out of the dance hall and into the world's headphones. This is the year a movie soundtrack turns street stories into global anthems. A Texas singer rides a Kingston groove to #1. Toasters flip the mic into a new instrument. And lover-style vocals drift across rainy UK radio. In this countdown, we're not just playing records. We're tracing how 15 songs from 1972 stuck to people's lives and never let go. Who cut them, why they hit, and what they changed. If you grew up with the 45s, this is a memory lane with bass. If you're new, it's a crash course in the year reggae became impossible to ignore. What's your essential 1972 pick? JA Classic or UK crossover? Drop it below, hit subscribe, and let's start the journey. A rebel prayer set to a skank. The guitars clip the offbeat, the organ bubbles, and Jimmy Cliff sings like a man who refuses to bend. In 1972, this wasn't just a song, it was the heartbeat of a film that showed Kingston as it was, not as outsiders imagined.
What's mine? And in the harder they come.
For many listeners outside Jamaica, this soundtrack was a doorway into reggae's world. It arrived in the UK in 1972 and in the US in early 1973, and decades later it was added to the US National Recording Registry for its cultural significance.
The harder they come, the harder they fall. One another.
The title track, recorded at Dynamic Sounds with Jamaica's A-list session crew, captures the grit and grace balance that made the movie a cult classic and the music a global force. Did you first meet this tune in the cinema, on the LP at home, or years later through a cover?
All right, C-Trends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. What? Check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this C-Trends family together. Your support is everything.
It's gonna be a bright, bright
Sunshine After Rain, carried by a gentle reggae sway. Texas-born Johnny Nash had deep ties to Jamaica's scene and brought that feel into mainstream pop with this self-written cut. When it hit US radio in 1972, the song shot to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and held the top spot for 4 weeks starting November 4th.
nothing but blue sky.
The melody is as clean as glass, the groove is light on its feet, and the lyric speaks to anybody who's ever felt a weight lift. It's a perfect bridge record, pop polish with unmistakable island DNA. What's the first moment in your life you remember this playing? Family radio, a road trip, or a movie scene?
I cried you, oh, oh.
The voice from the Paragon steps out front and turns devotion into a hook you can't shake. Produced by Bunny Striker Lee in 1972, Stick By Me dominated Jamaican turntables and is widely cited as the island's biggest selling single of that year.
Oh, oh, stick by me, I'll stick by you.
Holt's tone is silk over steel, romantic but confident, and the arrangement shows the shift from rocksteady warmth toward the smoother lover style that would define mid-70s reggae.
No one can tear us apart.
Put simply, this is foundation music for anyone who loves melody-forward reggae. If you're a Holt fan, do you go for his early rocksteady cuts or this sweeter 72 style?
You're turning my world upside down, branding me with a frown.
A London cut warning wrapped in pure bounce. British-Jamaican singer-producer Dandy Livingston wrote a lyric that feels like a letter to a lover. Beware of the devil, don't let him spoil your heart. And set it to bright horns and a tidy backbeat that made perfect sense on UK radio.
sticking around? Did I hear you say you're serious? Or did you say
The single hit number 14 on the official UK singles chart in September 1972, a sign of how deeply reggae had seeped into everyday British pop.
Did I hear you say you got someone new? Or did you say you like the color of my shoe?
You can hear the UK scene's polish and Trojan-era confidence all over this record. Which UK reggae hits from the early 70s sit next to this on your personal playlist?
Been so true.
Strings, sweetness, and a reggae pulse built for the charts. Former Techniques vocalist Bruce Ruffin leaned into crossover craft here. Clean vocal lines over a loping rhythm with an earworm chorus that sticks. The result, a top 10 UK hit, peaking at number 9 in the summer of 1972.
I didn't know it could happen to me.
The song's blend of island groove and pop orchestration mapped a path many artists would follow as reggae's influence spread through British studios.
I'm mad about you. I'm mad about
And yes, that honeyed tenor. It's the same singer who once wrote rock-steady harmonies with the Techniques. Do you prefer your reggae pop with lush strings like this? Or raw and rough like the Sound System 45s?
Tiki-taka, tiki-taka, jaya. Whoop-a-ya, pussy catch a fire. Yeah.
Cheeky, rude, and impossible to ignore. Big Six wrote a rock-steady reggae pulse with body patter that DJs couldn't always play, but the public bought in anyway. On the UK charts, it first entered in late August 1972, climbed steadily, and ultimately peaked at number 11 on the Big Shot label. An astonishing run for a record this un-radio-friendly.
Pussy blue, the name of the game is a little Bible.
It camped on the charts for months, proving that UK listeners were already tuned to Jamaican grooves, even when the lyrics were naughtier than Tea Time TV could handle. When you first heard Big Six, did you laugh at the punchlines or lock into the bass line first? A new voice for the streets. Big Youth didn't just toast. He narrated life with wit and authority, talking over a recycled foundation rhythm like a newsreader from the corner. Screaming Target rides the No No No, aka You Don't Love Me, rhythm lineage, a KC White cut that producer Gussie Clarke flipped into a 1972 DJ anthem. Recorded and released in Jamaica in '72, the LP arrived in the UK on Trojan in '73. The single's clipped drums and rubbery bass left space for Big Youth's swagger, turning everyday advice and shout-outs into poetry. This is where the DJ became a star in his own right. What's your favorite version riding this classic rhythm? Big Youth's toast, a vocal cut, or a dub? A Prophecy in 3 Minutes. Vivian Yabby You Jackson, a devout Christian among Rastas, chanted judgment and mercy over a stark minor key groove. Released as a single in 1972, credited to Vivian Jackson and the Ralph Brothers, Conquering Lion is where his nickname and legend began. The production is raw but magnetic, voices floating like a hillside choir, drums stepping like pilgrims, horns sighing in the heat. You can hear why Roots fans call this a turning point, the moment a spiritual outsider became a Roots cornerstone. When you think Roots reggae, do you reach for studio sheen or this kind of stark devotional sound? This video is sponsored by the Lore Store on Amazon, your one-stop shop for music lovers across reggae, rock, pop, and hip-hop. We built it for real listeners who don't want to dig through 1,000 listings to find the right gear. Inside the Lore Store, you'll find 5 aisles. VIP, top, battle-tested essentials, headphones, turntables, speakers, gig-safe earplugs, smart speakers. Reggae Vibe, Roots and Lovers. Rock Made Easy, automatic decks, warm bookshelf speakers, vinyl care. Rock Lore, classic rock must-haves, open back cans, simple amps, living room concert vibes. Pop Lore, feel-good everyday setups, clean, clear speakers, easy streaming, nostalgia-friendly picks. Hip-hop must-haves, punchy bass without the muddle, closed-back headphones, and living room systems that handle low-end, plus a rotating crate of old album vinyl if you're rebuilding a 60s-90s collection. Every product page tells you who it's for, 3 pros, 1 con, and why we picked it. So you can choose with confidence. Flying soon? Check. VIP for noise cancelling that tames plane roar. Mostly listening at home? Try open-back headphones that let live albums breathe. Want instant gratification vinyl? Our fully automatic turntable is 1 button from silence to music, and the record cleaning kit knocks down crackle so the bass tightens up. Headed to shows? Grab high-fidelity earplugs. Hands-free at home? Our smart speaker picks let you say, play 70s reggae or classic pop, and you're there. Deal alert! If you use the link in the description, you'll land on our curated picks with current best available Amazon pricing and active discounts where applicable. Prices change, so buy now to lock in today's deal. Tap the link in the description, pick your aisle, grab a favorite, and tell me which category you want me to build next. The Lore Store. Listen better, with gear that gets out of the way and lets the music live. Drums like a heartbeat, horns like a warning. Before albums made him a global icon, Burning Spear cut a string of Studio 145s. Among them, this 1972 single, also known simply as He Prayed. It honors the heavyweight champion Joe Frazier while laying down a solemn, militant groove that would shape Spear's message music for years. Pressed on Coxsone Dodd's Ironside imprint, it's widely cited as a Jamaican hit of that year and the template for a rhythm that producers kept versioning for decades, a hymn and a march at the same time. If you had to introduce a newcomer to Burning Spear with one song, would you start here or with a later album cut? Before Island Records, before Catch a Fire broke the world open, there was this Outlier, a CBS single cut in London on April 4, 1972, with Johnny Nash producing and Doris Troy on harmonies. It fused reggae pulse with soul rock gloss, aiming to cross Marley into UK radio. The single didn't chart high, but its existence matters. It's the bridge between the Wailers' Jamaican years and the island era, proof Marley was already thinking about how to carry reggae onto bigger stages. First released by CBS in the UK in '72, it's a fascinating snapshot of a legend mid-transition. Do you hear this as a one-off experiment, or an early clue to how Marley would reshape reggae for global ears? A DJ steps to the mic and turns the street into theater. Sidewalk Killer rides the classic Sidewalk Doctor rhythm, originated by sax great Tommy McCook, and flips it into a running commentary, jokes, boasts, quick warnings, and style. It's 1972 Jamaica, and the selector drops a version. Iroy toasts over it, working the crowd and the echo. Ruddy, Rudolph Redwood, sound system pioneer and producer, cut this take, and you can hear that sound system DNA in the way the bass leaves space for the voice. This wasn't just a single, it was proof the DJ was now a star in his own right, not just a hype man. What's your favorite Iroy line on this cut? The one you still mumble when the bass drops? A soul ballad reborn with a Jamaican heartbeat. Producer Harry J. hears Dusty Springfield's 1969 tune and asks the now generation's Jeffrey Chung to dress it in reggae. A loping bass, tight guitar chop, and Bennett's velvet phrasing. Released in 1972, it shot to #1 in Jamaica and later crossed to the UK on Blue Mountain or Island pressings, becoming a Lovers Rock foundation stone, so influential that UB40 would revisit it years later. What makes it stick isn't just the groove, it's Bennett's calm authority, a singer who sounds like she's letting you into a private conversation. Do you prefer this original reggae take, or the later UK revivals it inspired? Tender voice, iron timing. Dunkley always sang like he was talking directly to you, and here he's at his most intimate, floating over Sonia Pottinger's clean, unhurried production. First released in 1972 and included on his Presenting Errol Dunley set for Pottinger's Gay Feet imprint, the song is deceptively simple, a bass line that strolls, guitar figures like soft rain, and a lyric about love's small adjustments. It's the bridge between rock-steady sweetness and the lover's style that would flourish later in the decade. DJs and collectors still reach for this 45 when they want to cool down a dance without losing the vibe. If you're building a late-night reggae playlist, which Dunkley tune sits next to this one?
Yes, I am what I am.
Reggae on UK daytime radio in real time. Greyhound's third UK hit arrived in spring 1972 with an easy swing and a proudly simple chorus, I Am What I Am, that felt made for sing-alongs.
I'm happy to live till I die. I'm happy to live.
It entered the official singles chart on March 25, 1972, and peaked at number 20, spending 9 weeks on the list. Trojan's pop-reggae engine was humming.
I believe in the end when the road.
What you hear is the UK studio sound tightening up around Jamaican rhythm language, crisp drum kit, bright horns, roomy vocals. It's not a sound system banger. It's a living room anthem that helped normalize reggae across Britain.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but I am what I am.
Which early 70s UK reggae single do you think best opened the door for mainstream listeners?
All right, C-Trends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. What? Check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this C-Trends family together. Your support is everything.
I sing this little tune.
Veterans who could still surprise you. After a run of late 60s, early 70s hits, the Pioneers cut I Believe in Love for Trojan in 1972, with Sidney Crooks and Clive Crawley behind the board. The title track isn't flashy, it's steady, confident, and deeply tuneful, the kind of song that lives on because it's built to last.
Equally as strong. To them I sing this little tune.
You can hear how the trio's rock-steady schooling meets maturing reggae arrangements, close harmonies up front, rhythm section unhurried, organ warm in the middle. It capped an era for the group and showed how vocal trios could carry roots feeling without losing pop shape. If you were introducing someone to the Pioneers, would you start with their late 60s Joe Gibbs cuts? Or with this 1972 Trojan sound? If you enjoyed this episode, then go watch this video.